And I downloaded the app having no prior interest or, like I said, knowledge in social media or content in general. And really what I did is I saw a bunch of people that were making paint content, like at paint stores like I was working at, just mixing different paint colors. So I started to do it myself through my own channel.
And so you downloaded the app, and then it just exploded from there, it seems
Dude,
like.
it, like 6 video got 1 million views.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And like I said, no prior video editing, social media knowledge, nothing.
Welcome to Beyond the Blueprint, powered by Contractors, Closers, and Connections, Orlando. Join me for in-depth interviews with some of the top commercial real estate and development executives in the industry. We uncover their success stories, their strategies, and their lessons learned along the way. Gain valuable insight whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. Welcome Beyond the Blueprint. I'm your host, Branson Bowen, and we are sitting down with Tony Piloseno.
Yes, sir.
With Tony Paints. Tony has been very active in his career and his growth with his new brand, Tony Paints. So first, I want to give you a gift from one of our sponsors.
You did not have to.
For the podcast,
Ooh.
Bryce Knuth with Insurance Office of America. He is very adamant about giving these things out. It's got our cool logo, his stuff, and
hey, I appreciate that, man. Cool, thank you.
So it should be cool. So we'll jump right into it. I want to kind of just talk about you a little bit, get to know who you are, let our viewers kind of understand your journey and kind of what you've been through. So you go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Tony. I am the owner and founder of Tony Paints, which is a paint design company here in Orlando, Florida. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. Dude, You would be surprised about how many people I get from Ohio here.
It's unreal, man. It's like Ohio 2.0.
Yeah.
Anywhere like in Tampa and Miami specifically, man. It's just everyone migrated down here. It's crazy.
So you came from Ohio. How'd you get here?
I moved down to Orlando about 3 years ago now. Yeah, little under 3 years ago. To start Tony Paints, I partnered with Florida Paints, which is a paint manufacturer, in Winter Garden, to get my kickstart. Get familiar with their business and start Tony Paints, the growth of it itself. So that's kind of how I ended up here in Orlando, just kind of connecting with that manufacturer and.
So what's that? You've had an interesting little journey. So it's like, what has that looked like? So you're in Ohio. You obviously, didn't, I don't know, growing up, did you just like paint? Like what did that look like?
Nah, man. So in Ohio, it all started when I was 18 years old, just graduated from high school, going into community college in Cleveland. Started as simply as needed a part-time job through school. The local Sherwin-Williams in my hometown was hiring, and it just I just kind of applied and got the job, and that's kind of how I started my intro into the paint business.
What did that look like? So you're in Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, man. So prior to that, I had no knowledge, interest, fascination with paint, color, anything really at all. So going into school for business, knowing that was what I was going to do after I graduated, specifically marketing, I found the paint industry to be super, super cool, man, just for the simple fact of how involved it is with everything. When you're in the paint store and you have builders, contractors, homeowners, everyone coming in every day just needing different types of paint, different colors for different projects, I just realized how, involved paint was with everything in the community. And I knew at that point, working there for a little bit, that was the business that I wanted to stay in.
Right. Because of the impact that you were seeing, that
super sustainable business. First of all, there's no hit in the paint industry.
Right.
So that was the main idea, thought it was a cool business in that aspect. There's a lot of people making a lot of money in the paint, and whether it be sales, marketing, just a super cool business and a lot of cool projects to work on. I just found it cool in that sense.
Right. So how did social media come into play?
Yeah, man. So I was working at Sherwin-Williams for about 3 years, going through community college. And then I moved down to Athens, Ohio, which is in Southern Ohio, to go to Ohio University, finish my undergrad degree in marketing, and transferred to the Sherwin-Williams down there. Like I said, still like the gig, still like the company. Knew that was even a company that I wanted to move forward with after graduation. So I got down there, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Athens, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
You have?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Well, besides the school, there's not much happening down there, right? Not a lot of population. super, super rural city, man.
Sure.
So the Sherwin-Williams down there was not busy in the sense like it was up in Cleveland. And that's where Sherwin was headquartered too. Right. So, Sherwin everywhere up north in Cleveland. So
sales weren't booming.
Sales weren't booming like they were in Cleveland. Right. If the school wasn't having an ongoing project, Ohio University, there was
literally nothing.
You're chilling.
Yeah.
Basically. And, you get into those retail positions sometimes, and this obviously gets geographical where, things aren't as busy. So this was around the time early or actually late 2019, prior to COVID, when TikTok just first became a thing, right?
Right. And
I downloaded the app, having no prior interest or, like I said, knowledge in social media or content in general. And really what I did is I saw a bunch of people that were making paint content, like at paint stores like I was working at, just mixing different paint colors. So I started to do it myself through my own channel. Mm-hmm. Like I said, not much happening down there. A lot of dead time. So I thought it was like a cool way to express the things I was learning about paint to help other people across the world really on the platform to show them that same fascination that I have.
Right. And so you downloaded the app and then it just exploded from there. It seems
Dude, 6 video got 1 million views.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And like I said, no prior video editing, social media knowledge, nothing.
Right. And so what was your ideas behind creating the videos, being artistic, but also being outside the box?
Yeah, man. Originally the idea was to just show the color formulation process, right? Just like the tint going into the can and result being a color that you might not have expected, or people who aren't familiar with it would have expected. That was the original idea. Then I started getting into a little more of the entertainment value, which was I started getting creative with it. And then I remember the big videos that really popped off for me and grew the channel a lot were mixing blueberries in the paint. I don't know if you heard about that one. It's one of the memorable videos, but just getting a little more on the entertainment value of things. So just being creative with paint and doing different things, I guess, on social media.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just creating that interest outside of just the standard, just paint.
Yeah,
paint
exactly.
mixing.
Right.
Yeah. So how did Sherwin-Williams take that?
So I started the channel 2019, and in spring of, it would be 2020, right when COVID first started, right? And this is when the channel grew even larger, just because that was the time where TikTok really grew too, where everyone was getting on the platform, lockdown, creators started blowing up, that kind of thing. So my initial idea was to develop a pitch deck to show the Sherwin-Williams marketing department, hey, this could be a valuable tool, this platform that I've already built to market and showcase our products to Gen Z, millennials, the people that were on this app. Mm-hmm. So I worked with Ohio University, the marketing department, and my professors to build out this pitch deck. I'm trying to remember what the initial ideas were. It's been a long time. Like I said, just kind of grasping that Gen Z market. Another thing that I learned in the paint industry at that time is at some point in everyone's lives, they're going to need paint.
Oh, 100%.
So the idea was to build that brand awareness and value with these younger people who eventually will need the paint.
Right.
So that was the big idea in the pitch deck. And we developed it. I showed it to my manager and sales rep in my region. Loved it. Didn't have anything bad to say. They wanted to move it up to the regional marketing department, right? Sure. The vice president of marketing. And like I said, this was during COVID, super weird time. We tried reaching out to him a bunch of times, LinkedIn, Instagram, email, calling, just didn't get back to me, right? And then he eventually did get back to me and said that, due to COVID, there was no ongoing extra projects to take on at the moment. Fair argument, right? But then shortly after that, Sherwin-Williams, I got a call from the loss prevention department of the company. I guess someone had complained about the channel. We're not still sure who it was, but someone wasn't happy about it. I got a call from loss prevention, and ultimately they first had thought that I was taking paint from the store, not paying for it.
Right.
But really what I was doing was taking mistinted gallons that weren't being used, or I was actually buying the paint myself to make the content.
Sure.
For the silly content, the entertainment value. Yeah, creative stuff, right? I was still doing customer orders. Like if someone had called in an order,
You're still doing your job.
Still doing my job, just recording the process of it, right?
Sure. So you got a call from the loss prevention.
Yeah, call from loss prevention. Did their investigation, told them about the pitch deck and everything, my idea, I guess, actual idea behind the channel and what I was doing. Obviously, loss prevention and marketing are two different departments. He didn't care. He didn't have anything to say. He just wanted to get through the logistics of it. And then they ultimately let me go for gross misconduct, essentially doing things on the clock that you're not supposed to be doing.
Right.
That was the reaction there.
And so you were just like, all right, now what?
So yeah, now what? I didn't have a job. It was summer of college, still during COVID. You know, the only thing I still had was that platform. They didn't take the platform from me or the audience, so I kept it going, man. I was driving to all kinds of paint stores across southern Ohio
Trying to get other paint.
in West Virginia, just picking up as much paint as I could with the little money that I had. I remember we did a trip to Detroit once.
Yeah.
What I was doing is I was calling Sherwin-Williams, not obviously mentioning my name or anything like that, and I would be like, "Hey, you got any mist tints?" And we actually got a company or a store in Detroit who said they had a whole pallet, an entire pallet of gallons they sold every gallon for $1.
Yeah.
So I took my truck and drove it down to Ohio, and that was my stash. So for that summer and the fall, I just kept making my content. You know, it was in my friend's basement in college. It was like probably like half the size of this room, unfinished. There was a furnace down there, probably super hazardous in some sense. So like
paint fumes.
Yeah, like it was just like that's what I was doing, but I still kept the channel going. Sure. And you know, yeah, that was the kind of the path afterwards.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bryce Knuth of Insurance Office of America. As a contractor or real estate owner in Florida, you've likely experienced the impact of rising insurance premiums year after year. With the challenging insurance marketplace, having a specialist who focuses on your industry is critical now more than ever before. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your current insurance program or don't have a relationship with your current broker, please contact Bryce Knuth at 407-697-6944 via call or text, or email bryce.knuth@ioausa.com. Don't let rising insurance costs catch you off guard. Reach out to Bryce today. And so how do you get to Florida?
So there was a pivotal moment when everything kind of changed big time, is when I went on my TikTok channel and kind of made a story and a video explaining of how I got fired. Like, this is the story of what happened, why I do what I do, why I care about what I do, and why I continue to make this content. And that video took off, man. I think like overnight it had like at least 20 million views or something. It got big attention in national media. I remember being on Fox Business with Charles Payne.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Fox Business, all kinds of outlets, right? Just picking up the story, and, you know, that kind of got the attention that I needed to give me another opportunity.
Sure.
And I was getting job offers from Bear, Benjamin Moore, even Sherwin-Williams coming back to get a marketing opportunity.
Wait.
Yeah. So all these different paint companies, they're hitting me up for either sponsorships or job opportunities, right? But Florida Paints was different in the sense, and that's the manufacturer who I connected with down here, is in the sense that they would give me a manufacturing deal to launch my own line of paint. Mm-hmm. So I figured, okay, you know, what route do I want to take? Do I just want to have the job for working for someone else like I was before? And clearly that didn't work out with the ideas and stuff that I had. Or do I just want to take it upon myself and start my own line of paint, start an online store, and deliver product to customers using the channel that I have?
Right. You can still use the channel and then create your own brand behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the thing about it. Originally, it was a content channel is the best way to put it, not a brand channel.
Right.
So after I did that, I started adjusting my content to more like how-to, inspirational, more technical content.
Sure.
And threw the product in there, showed how I made colors, and like started letting my audience recognize like, hey, this is an actual business and a product now that you can purchase and buy online.
Do you think having the following in your social media platforms ahead of time was a pivotal like catalyst to launch the success of Tonester now?
I wouldn't say that exactly. See, the things with audiences these days on social media, you know, you're fighting algorithms basically. So if you completely switch up your content out of nowhere, like the algorithms can detect that and maybe it won't reach as many people. So I had to actually do like a pivotal shift in my content and learn how to do more selling in a more subtle way. Product description, informative content rather than entertainment value.
Right. So let's kind of talk about that because, you know, obviously social media is a major deal these days. You know, there's a ton of people that are, you know, trying to be influencers, trying to create valuable content. I mean, I would say, you know, this podcast is one of those avenues.
Absolutely right.
It's our duty to try to give value to the industry, to local, you know, or even national or global up and comers of entrepreneurs and people who want to start their business. What was something that like you kind of strategically, obviously it kind of was you just wanted to create content. You wanted to, you know, show people the process, and then it kind of organically turned into a business. What was something that kind of really allowed you to make that shift in mindset of like changing your content? Like, did you have any background in understanding how that needed to happen, or it was just?
No, it was more of an overtime thing, kind of figuring it out and like responding to how audiences responded, right? And adjusting content. I would say the one thing that I've learned throughout that shift was, like you had said, what value is someone going to get out of watching this piece of content, right? How is someone going to get inspired for their next project? And that's really in social media content. That's the only selling you have to do. You don't have to do the hard sell of like, hey, this specific product is going to, you know, change your life. You know, selling on social media is not really like cool, you know what I mean? Like people want that valuable content.
Right, it gets a little cheesy over time.
Exactly, right? And, you know, and that's a big issue that I think companies have when trying to do social media content is they're always used to the commercial style selling.
Sure.
You know, you go on, do your TV commercials, I'm trying to think
of
the best way to
describe. Buy my product for $9.99.
Exactly. that kind of like this product, this is the deal you're going to get, this is what it's going to do, and all that doesn't work on social media. You have to actually inspire someone and inform them in ways that's going to be beneficial to their daily lives to get that sale afterwards.
So through Tonester and you creating that content, what was your way of trying to figure out, okay, what exact value are people going to need and how can I provide that?
Right. The value that I would focus on the most, creating that human element to my content, right?
Sure.
Especially with paint, right? It's a super commercialized industry. Like the only places you really get paint are at your hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's. So I'm just adding that human element to it. I like to do descriptions of like how I'm making the color, the process of it, the result, how it's going to affect your space, your mood, your daily routines, like kind of bringing that sort of benefit to the audience when they're seeing Tonester being created on social media, the paint itself.
Right. I've seen some of your videos, and so it's like, I think you do a really good job of like, one, like your music is very involved with the feel of what color the paint is, right? Like if you've got a dark metallic type feel, it's kind of like that, that mood gets set just from the music that's set there. So how do you go about that? Is it just like trial and error? Like, okay, this doesn't work or what?
Well, you know, this goes into like color theory, right? I don't do this on purpose. Like I don't like specifically look for a specific color or colors to match with music, but color and music have huge impact on someone's psychology, right? Especially in an interior space, like, you know, specific colors are better for being more energized, being more rested, you know, feeling more sophisticated, just all kinds of sort of avenues, right? So the music, I guess that's just kind of my style, man. I mean, I kind of go like trending on TikTok or Instagram, you know, music that I specifically like. I don't really do, you know, anything that I wouldn't like music wise.
Now, how did you find all that? Like knowing what paint color associated with what emotion? Was that research? Was that
Oh
something?
man, that's just over time of being in the paint business, man. It's been about 7 years now of making paint and mixing paint colors. So, my process now is I have a certain process for how I make different paint colors, right? And I guess in a sense, I have a sort of style of like creating really dark and rich, moody colors, some colors that really emote, right? I can't go on my channel and promote off-white with, there's nothing cool about that.
Right.
The style of colors that I like to make and my audience really enjoys is those really rich, inky colors, something that has the real personality and character. Sure. And over time, my style did shift to that once realizing that that was actually benefiting people in that sense of like psychologically in a sense.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just something really pleasing about looking at the color and how it affects your mood and those sort of things.
Right. So before we wrap up part one, I want to kind of dive into, I want to give the audience some type of value, like we mentioned, right? So the biggest thing, especially in your journey, and we'll get to part, your entrepreneurship journey in part two, but, with specifically social media, right? What advice would you give to someone who is trying to launch whether it's their personal brand, a company brand on social media, and what are some of the things that they could follow that have worked for you?
Sure,
Maybe it might not work for someone else, but what kind of advice would you give someone that's starting out like that?
The biggest one is being consistent, right?
Yeah.
When I started, I was posting every day. I really had a drive to connect with my audience and grow my audience as big as it possibly could be, connecting with as many people as possible. And the only way by doing that is being consistent. Sure. And I think like the good metric for that is posting at least 3 or 4 times a week when you're first starting out, right? Till you at least build up that audience and they know who you are and they can trust your content. Another element is the human element, right? Storytelling, showing your audience that you're a real person, a real creator. You go through the same issues and difficulties as they do, just being more open and authentic. I would say that's 2 of the biggest reasons to actually grow a social media following and build that audience.
Right. Well, and I think that growing that following, I think social media is, because we went through a cycle of, it's a bunch of highlight reels, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I think it's shifting a little bit to people want to, because obviously social media is a major platform. There's major platforms out there. I think there is value in giving that human element. There's a connectivity that's built between the person watching and the person giving the video. Even if they don't know them from Adam, but there's having that connection of knowing that that's a real person. They go through the same challenges. There's actual depth behind what you just see on social media.
Exactly.
And, I think that is a huge thing. That's what I've learned, from even doing this. One of the biggest things from interviewing people like yourself or other, successful entrepreneurs or developers or anything like that, especially on the development side, people see these huge buildings and these retail strips but they don't understand the background. And so, like for instance, for this channel, the idea is to provide that clarity and that transparency.
Sure.
Of what's really going on behind the
scenes. And that's something that I've always realized too, especially when, you see a giant building or something go up, you're like, all right, how did that just happen?
Right.
Like what were the steps and the stories it took to get that building into place?
Right.
It's very fascinating. So yes, adding that human element to really any sort of, content is super, super important, man. Sure. That authenticity.
So consistency and authenticity.
Yep.
So absolutely. Would you say community is a big element to that too?
Yeah, I would say so. But I think the community kind of develops itself. Sure. I've never been big. I shouldn't say that actually. I really do try responding and engaging with my audience as much as possible. Whether that's DMs, messages, or DMs, comments, shares, just kind of interacting with them, showing that you care and that they are a part of the community that you've built through your page.
Sure.
And your brand.
Right. They're not just a number.
Exactly. Yeah. Dude, I'm on my phone all day just responding to comments and messages and stuff. But that's adding that human element to Tonester. That's the only reason, not the only reason, but the biggest reason people buy my product is because it's coming from a real person.
Sure.
They know that I specifically made the color, formulated it.
Right.
And as of right now, mixing it and shipping it right to you. So
it's not they're not going to Home Depot.
Yeah, man. You go to Home Depot, you give a little color chip that half the time doesn't even really match, giving it to Joe Schmo. They don't know who you are, care about your project.
Right.
It just adds a human element to really your space, your home, and just knowing someone crafted it and I guess kind of implemented it into your space.
Sure. And kind of worked with you.
It's kind of like a fine piece of art or home decor that's made by a specific person. Same sort of idea, right?
Right.
And
Very
people
tailored.
love it.
Very
Yes,
tailored.
exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So be consistent and be authentic. So we'll jump into part 2. Stay tuned. Till next time.